one.
Yeah, right there.
Sure. Do another one?
Sure. Is there another one? More?
Oh.
Scoot one down.
Just push that one over there.
You want one more? They want one more?
You got one more?
We have one more.
Oh no, they're bringing them back up.
Right. I don't think she heard him.
That's all we can fit.
Don't want to kick anything. Gotta shut it off.
Are we ready? Okay. Good evening. My name is Kathleen Berg, and I will be your moderator at this League of Women Voters Sheriff Primary Forum. Welcome to the candidates, audience, NewCat, KNUJ SAM 107.3, and the local media to this candidates meeting. The League is a nonpartisan organization which promotes active and informed involvement of citizens in the voting process. The League does not support or oppose political parties or individual candidates. The League has called this meeting for the purpose of assisting the public in making their choice among the candidates for the office of Sheriff of Brown County. There are 4 candidates for the primary, August 14th. The top 2 vote getters will face each other in the November election. Candidates are Jason Fairbairn, Jeff Hohensee, Matt Iberson, and Jason Seidel. A sheriff is an elected official who is in charge of enforcing the law and keeping the peace in a county. Elected sheriffs are accountable directly to the Constitution of their state, the U.S. Constitution, statutes, and the citizens of their county. Questions for the candidates will be gathered from several sources, including the TV and radio audience and the live audience. The television and radio audience is asked to call with their questions. The live audience has papers that they may write their questions on, and there will be an usher coming around to collect those occasionally. The League reserves the right to screen questions that are illegible on personal matters unrelated to the elective position, unclear, inappropriately hostile, antagonistic, belligerent or friendly, supportive or gratuitous, or that are submitted for the purpose of making a statement rather than giving information. Questions on one issue or similar issues will be consolidated and rephrased. Our intention in screening questions is to, in good faith, select questions that represent the interests of those persons that submit the questions. If anyone in the audience feels an issue has not been adequately addressed, we urge that person to contact the candidate directly. The ground rules for this evening's candidates meeting are as follows. I will ask the 4 candidates to spend a maximum of 1 minute, 30 seconds introducing themselves. The order of introduction has been established alphabetically. An official timekeeper, we have 2 here, will mark the time. The timer will hold up a 15-second sign when you have 15 seconds remaining, and when you must stop, there will be a stop sign raised. Upon completion of the introductions, each candidate will respond to one question that was crafted by the League and provided to the candidates in advance of this evening's forum. Therefore, the meeting will be opened to the question. Thereafter, the meeting will be opened to the questions from the audience, including the phone-in questions. Candidates will have 2 minutes to respond to those questions. The opportunity to speak first will rotate. Each of you will have the option to offer a 1-minute rebuttal for 2 questions of your choice. You will notify me, you have a card in front of you, if and when you intend to exercise your 2 rebuttal options. If a question is addressed to an individual candidate, that candidate will be given the opportunity to respond first. The other candidates will then have the opportunity to speak to the question if they so choose. The same 2-minute time will apply. The ushers have already, I think, distributed paper, but if there are more needed, we can do that to the audience present. And the television and radio audience may phone in their questions at 276-6140 or 276-4711. Your call will be answered by League members. Again, questions will be screened. The candidates will give a 1-minute closing statement. The order will be the reverse of the introductions. We will bring the meeting to a close at approximately 8:30. We might go 10 minutes over since we started a little later, but we're still going to keep it around 8:30. The candidates will now present their opening remarks, beginning with Jason Fairbairn.
Hi. As Kathleen stated, I want to say thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Jason Fairbairn, and I'm currently a sheriff's deputy with the Brown County Sheriff's Office. And I also live in New Ulm. I've worked in this capacity for the last 15 years, and I've been married to my wife, Tricia, for 19 years. She is an educator at the New Ulm Public High School as an English teacher and is entering her 22nd year. We have 3 children, Jack, who's 18 and will be attending MSU in the fall, Emma, who's 15 and a sophomore, and Addie, who is 13 and going to be an 8th grader. Prior to the Brown County Sheriff's Office, I worked as a patrol officer for the city of Sleepy Eye and worked with their department. I'm a graduate of Mankato State University, Mankato. For the last 14 years, I've been a use of force and defensive tactics instructor for the Sheriff's Office, which allowed myself and federal officers throughout Brown County to train together. I've been trained in narcotics investigations and have worked as a drug liaison for Brown County. I was the Brown County's Local 94 president for 14 years and have been trained in a vast majority of law enforcement areas throughout my 14 years. I chose to run for sheriff as I felt the time was right for me to introduce my initiatives. I'm extremely passionate about cross-training with the fire departments, local police, ambulance services, as well as community involvement in recruitment and retention of quality employees.
Thank you. Jeff Hohensee.
Hello. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the League of Women Voters for this debate. I truly believe that this election process is a good thing for the citizens of Brown County. It brings law enforcement issues and concerns to the forefront and allows everyone to express their specific ideas and programs in which turn better serve the citizens of Brown County. I'm a senior investigator for the police department, and I started on New Ulm Police Department 27 years ago. Along the way, I've been assigned to many different task forces and investigative groups. This includes a drug task force for 20 years and leading it for 3, the SWAT team for 14 years, and serving as a senior team leader for 7, and developing and supervising the sex trafficking task force for Brown, Blue Earth, and Nicollet counties for 3 years. During the past 27 years, I've established an elaborate network of law enforcement partners from all over Minnesota and beyond. These include our federal partners from the FBI, DEA, ICE, ATF, Homeland Security, and numerous other agents around Minnesota. Also, the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. Over the years, I've worked several cases with each of these above agencies. The work that I am most proud of is the partnerships that I've formed in southern Minnesota. I've helped establish a group called MSCIC, Minnesota South Central Investigators Coalition. I'm a past board member, and we meet monthly to go through. We provide a nexus for training and development for all law enforcement officers. I look forward to bringing the successes and collaboratives of the Brown County Sheriff's Department to the new sheriff. I want to be sheriff because I want to see, I'm sorry. All right. I want to see these programs that I've described thrive and prosper in Brown County. Thank you.
Okay. Matt Iverson.
Hello, I'd just like to take this time to thank the League of Women Voters for inviting me to this debate, and also thank you for taking time out of your day to come here and assist with us. Once again, I'm Matt Iverson. I was born and raised in Sleepy Eye. I went to Sleepy Eye St. Mary's. I got my degree at Alexandria Technical College. From there, I worked at several law enforcement agencies. I am married to my wife that's going to be 6 years tomorrow. We have 3 great children, and they attend St. Mary's High School in Sleepy Eye. I'd like to bring some integrity, accountability, and respect when I would be in charge of the sheriff's office. I think community policing is also one of my main priorities, and bringing back Triad. I think that's very important with the seniors. Also, I'm a firm believer with welfare fraud. It's not only in Brown County, but I think it's throughout the state of Minnesota, as we've seen on the news. I've I'm also a firm believer in the drug take-back program here. I think it's a good program that we used to have, and I'd like to reestablish that here in Brown County. Thank you.
Okay. Jason Seidel.
My name is Jason Seidel. I'm born, my parents are Lenny and Marge Seidel from Sleepy Eye, Minnesota. Graduated from Sleepy Eye St. Mary's. My siblings are Barb and her husband Dennis Schreier, Tricia and her husband Jason Tower, Andrew and Andrea Meyer, and then Steve and Nola Hauget, or Seidel, his wife. I graduated from Sleepy Eye St. Mary's in 1998. Graduated from Mankato State University in 1991 with a Bachelor of Science degree, majoring in law enforcement, minoring in corrections. Married to my wife Jolene, been married since 1994. Same year I came to the Sheriff's Office. Have a sense of loyalty to the Sheriff's Office. And also the community. It's one of those things where I started out as a dispatcher and also then worked up in the jail, and now my current position as the Chief Deputy, which is the second command of the Sheriff's Office. Throughout those years, kind of got to know the whole Sheriff's Office. I know all aspects more than just the patrol or other things. We also have dispatch, we have court security, we have transports, extraditions, expungements. We also work with other agencies, so we have that. So, and also the fiscal management as far as the budget process itself. So it's not just one little component, it's many, many components. So I have a sense of loyalty to Brown County, just as my father worked for 3M for 35 years. I also have that sense of loyalty for Brown County.
Thank you, Jason. At this point in time, questions from the audience and the television and radio audiences will be accepted. So I think if the usher is around, she could go around and see if anyone has some questions that they have written down. And we'll proceed now to the advance question that was sent to the candidates, which is also a 2-minute presentation. And we'll begin with Matt Iverson. And the question is, what will you do to ensure that laws are enforced fairly and equally, regardless of race or economic status?
To me, the laws are meant to be enforced. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, your status in the community, your race, your sex, it doesn't matter. If you break the law, you're going to be held accountable. And for me, if I feel it's an issue and we can't properly investigate it here, I'd work with the county attorney on sending that to a different county. I feel the race and wealth should not be an issue on if you're going to get off or not. So I'm a strong believer in if you goofed up, you got to pay the price.
Okay.
Thank
You have,
you.
like I said, up to 2 minutes in
Thank
this.
you.
Would you like to have the question repeated for Jason Fairbairn?
No, I should be fine.
Okay.
When I did receive the question from you guys and reading over it, I couldn't help but be reminded of how great my fellow co-workers are. As a deputy, I've had firsthand knowledge of how they have ensured everyone is treated fairly, regardless of race or economic status. I've witnessed this firsthand from my fellow deputies, as well as dispatchers and correctional staff, on how they've always exhibited integrity, strong character, and professionalism in dealing with the public. However, like anything that has been perfected, they can always have some times to strengthen it up. So if need be, I will do that through communication and continued interaction with the staff.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jason Seidel.
So, as there's a Minnesota Peace Officer Standards and Training, they have a model policy, and also Brown County, we have policies which we review annually. Also, our doors are always open for the Sheriff's Office if there's ever any issue. As kind of as Fairbairn said there also, we treat everybody at the Sheriff's Office with professionally and treat everyone fairly. We treat them with respect, whether that be in the jail, dispatch, deputies, court security, or transports. We treat everybody as it's the first time they have contact with law enforcement. This might set the tone for later on in life if they ever have another contact with law enforcement, just to give them a good feel, so therefore they don't have that, that bad taste in their mouth, if you will. We also know that we don't always have contact with people in their finest hour, so, and also treat them like it's their first time. We treat people the way we want to be treated, and by example, I always treat people fairly and professionally, so I lead by example. And then also, sometimes just extra communication, so maybe they don't always know the situation. I'm just going to go over attempt to locate type situation, where if you have a situation where you're looking for a suspect in a yellow car and you happen to come across a yellow car, and maybe the people don't understand why you got to pull them over, and yes, they do that a little bit explaining to them of why you pulled them over, because that fits the description of a yellow car. So communication, and like I said, we treat everybody fairly, whether it's the jail, dispatch, court security, transports, the deputies, anybody and everybody in the sheriff's office. Thank you.
I might interject here, if the candidates would please speak a little closer to the microphone. Some of the people here cannot hear you very well, so I just wanted to make note of that to all of you. Jeff, you're the last one here.
I'd ask that you read the question over, please.
Okay, I will do that for you. What will you do to ensure that laws are enforced fairly and equally, regardless of race or economic status?
I have worked with the New Ulm Human Rights Commission in the past. We have formed a strong bond in the partnership of helping bring equality to the citizens and help protect children. I recently reached out to the current Human Rights Commissioner Chairman Dan Kalk and past Chairman Jackie Crable. I posed a question to both of them that if I was elected to the office of the Brown County Sheriff, if they would come and talk with all of our sworn and non-sworn staff on the issues of equality at our first staff meeting. Both directors stated that they would be happy to speak with our department. I explained to both chairpersons that we must stress respect to all employees. It has been my experience that no matter what role I encounter someone, sometimes it's as a suspect, a witness, or a victim, that we need to treat these people with the utmost respect. I have arrested suspects on a number of different occasions that we have ended the encounter with a handshake and a few words of advice. I've learned that in these small communities, you will likely see these people again, and the next time they remember and that the respect was given to them. This is especially true in the narcotics community, where we get so many repeat offenders. As sheriff, my duties will mostly be administrative. I believe that each and every person deserves to be treated with respect. I will ensure every member of our staff strives to treat every person equally and with the respect that they deserve. Thank you.
Okay. We will go into the next round of questions. And that is, what do you consider, now these are questions that they have not seen prior to this meeting. What do you consider the biggest concern of Brown County residents? Jason Seidel.
What do I consider the biggest concern? The mental health issues, especially the stuff that and it's going to affect all law enforcement combined. And that would be anything from people when they call in, maybe they have a mental health issue with a family member, might be a time of crisis. It might also be somebody, maybe they have mental health issues and they might be self-prescribing, where they're using alcohol or prescription drugs, and then therefore sometimes they get introduced into the system. A lot of times what happens also is once we get in contact with somebody, they maybe have mental health issues, maybe they're intoxicated, we try to get them some help, and sometimes what happens is the hospitals don't want to take them because yes, they're mentally ill, but they're intoxicated. Detox doesn't want to take them because they're intoxicated and also have mental health issues. So a lot of times the landing spot is the jail. So that's not probably the best place for them. We're working on working with family services, human services, to try to get some other services for them. We've been doing this for years also, just trying to get them to the right services. So there's a lot of mental health issues out there. So that is probably the biggest thing that I see for the sheriff's office.
Okay. Jeff Hohensee.
If you look at the Brown County jail roster, the two things that you're going to see that people are incarcerated for are sex-related crimes and drug-related crimes. So I believe that those are the most important issues that we are currently facing. As far as the drug-related crimes, I have 20 years on the drug task force. I have ran our drug task force for 3 years, and I have, and they were the most successful 3 years that our drug task force has ever enjoyed. Having said that, our drug task force has a new commander. His name is Jeff Morris. I've reached out to Jeff Morris, talked to him about what the plan is for the task force to get back on track. I talked to him about coming in and doing what we did when I was on the task force. That is, we're going to have short-term goals, we're going to have long-term goals, we're going to have midterm goals, we're going to have weekly meetings. We're going to take the task force back to the beginning, and we're going to do the things that gets it back on track. They're not far from it. They just need some new leadership in the task force, and that's what I'm looking for. As far as the sex portion of it, I've done a number of sexual assaults throughout the years. I do all the criminal sexual assaults on the children right now for the city of New Ulm. So when I work on that, I can talk to you about the experience that I've had. Those cases are near and dear to me, and they need to be treated where we as a group are treating them together collaboratively, not just one case here or there. So thank you.
Okay. Jason Fairborn, would you like the question repeated?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Some of the biggest issues that I feel that the sheriff's office is facing is what Chief Deputy Seidel had mentioned with mental illness. I worked as a security counselor over in St. Peter at the St. Peter Regional Treatment Center as a security counselor and dealt with the mentally ill. The one thing that the mental illness always leads to is such things as sex trafficking, sex crimes, narcotic use because they're self-medicating. I agree with Jeff. I think we do have issues coming with sex trafficking. I think that's something big in our state. We just seen an increase in some Iowa teenager girls being abducted and some Minnesota attempts. So it is imperative that we learn about this. I do feel, though, that patrol officers are the first line of defense. And if we can teach patrol officers the same interdiction like we do for drug-related stops or even DWIs to identify this. As for the narcotics use, yes, mentally ill people are going to self-medicate, and they're going to over-medicate. When they come into our jail, by our jail staff being able to be trained and recognizing this is something that we can do to reduce any kind of recidivism that is being created by someone who has a revolving door to our jail. There are outreach programs for this, such as drug court, and I feel that social services has done a very fine job. But there's some people that just refuse to get that help, and where do they turn? They turn to alcohol and drugs.
Okay. Matt Everson.
Could you repeat the question
Sure,
one
I
more
sure
time?
can.
Thank you.
Just ask me. What do you consider the biggest concern for Brown County residents?
As all the other candidates spoke, I think it's with everything. I mean, mental health is an issue, drugs is an issue, the alcohol is an issue, the drugs with the youth are an issue. You on the street dealing with kids, they rather use and to self-medicate than go seek professional help. It's a tough thing out there. I think a lot of it comes down to, community policing, educating, not even the kids in school. Help educate the parents on teaching, the triggers if they start seeing it, because, sometimes they're blind to it. They don't see what we see, and they don't want to accept the fact. But if you could set up some trainings with them and help them notice, the mental illness or the drug abuse or the alcohol addictions, you're going to deter a lot of crime with that. Also, with drinking and driving and domestics and, breaking into stuff, a lot of it comes back to parenting, but a lot of it comes down to us on educating.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Would you like to, Jason, would you like to do your rebuttal card?
Yes, I would like to use one.
Okay, you have 1 minute for that.
Okay, and that would be actually on Jeff's comments about the most successful with the Drug Task Force. I'm looking here at the 3 years that he did it. In 2011, he was $93,000 over expenses over revenue. There was 77 arrests. The following year, there was 75 arrests, but it was also $152,000 less spent in that following year. So the 3 years that Jeff had it, it was 262 arrests, and the following year it was 267 arrests. So I don't know if we're going off success off the rest, because if that's the case, there was just 2 less with $150,000 left, $52,000 left. So for 3 years, actually, there was 5 more arrests, and it was also at it was less money spent, and also in every year that he was in it, there was also an overture as far as spending, so it was in a deficit.
Okay, thank you.
And then also, real quick here, in a special meeting on Drug Task Force in December of 2011, they added an administrative case manager to focus on the grants and budgets in an effort to utilize commander's fullest extent as an agent. And in 2012, Jeff Hohensee was removed from the Drug Task Force.
Okay. Is there another rebuttal?
Sure.
Jeff? Okay. 1 minute.
When I took over the Drug Task Force in 2009, I applied for a grant through the Department of Justice. We received $275,000. That was money that was not allocated. I took the Drug Task Force from 3 people in 3 counties to 5 employees in 5 counties and added the Lower Sioux Indian Reservation. I don't know where Jason's gotten his numbers from, but I will guarantee you that our Drug Task Force through that time was the most successful that it's ever been. The morale was the best, the numbers were the best, and the Drug Task Force flourished through those years that I had it. Bob Bushman was our commander from the state, and he's made it very clear and is available to comment on it that the task force, when I was the commander, was by far a role model task force for the state of Minnesota. Thank you.
Okay. I would at this time like to remind people that if you are in the TV audience or the radio audience, you may phone in at 276-6140 or 276-4711. And maybe I don't know if the audience has any papers that they have ready to give to our usher. Maybe not, I don't know. She was just there? Okay. I'll see that they get it. Our next question is, and it's directed at Jeff Hohensee. How do you see the Sheriff's Department cooperating with but not duplicating the services/responsibilities of local police departments?
Will you repeat that, please?
Sure. How do you see the Sheriff's Department cooperating with but not duplicating the services/responsibilities of local police departments?
Thank you. I will say that the Sheriff's Department needs to be a role model for all of the smaller police departments. If the Sleepy Eye or Springfield or Comfrey, if they have a question on a case or a case that's above their ability, they need to be able to come to the Sheriff's Department and to the investigative unit and seek them out for their professional help and experience. What I can tell you is that in the past 12 years, that has not happened, all right? Our smaller communities come to the New Ulm Police Department and ask for help. They ask help from Chris Molenhoff, who does the forensics computer. They ask for help on the bigger cases with myself. I've been to Springfield, I've been to Sleepy Eye, where I've gone over and literally started cases and completed them for them because they were outside of their realm. Now, I totally understand that what they need to do is come to the Sheriff's Department, because the Sheriff's Department should be the nexus for that for all county law enforcement. Thank you.
Okay. Jason Seidel.
Yeah, I definitely. Well, you're going to have some duplication of services because the sheriff's office services the whole county of Brown. So it's just not the people out in the country. It's everybody. So it could be Comfrey, Springfield, Sleepy Eye, New Ulm, Hanska, everybody. So there might be some duplication of services. As far as that, so I mean, we have officers on. All those other agencies also have officers on. But yeah, we're gonna aid them. They're gonna aid us. I don't know about that not requesting or getting information because I just had a request from an agency yesterday for help and I was able to help them. So that was just yesterday from an outside agency. So, but yeah, we're going to aid everybody. So.
Okay. Matt Iverson.
Can you repeat that one more
Sure,
time, please?
I sure can.
Thank you.
How do you see the Sheriff's Department cooperating with, but not duplicating the services/responsibilities of local police departments?
When I worked at the Sheriff's Department, I felt that we worked with outside police departments very well, especially the smaller communities such as Sleepy Eye, Springfield, and Comfrey. Me personally, if any of those smaller communities, a lot of times they'd have one officer on. If they had a call, I would start heading that way and helping them. If they had to sit with a party at the hospital or something, a lot of times I'd stay in their communities and advise them that I could handle their calls. And if I had a call in the county, I'd have to leave. But I think cross-training with them is very good thing, and you know, we're not always going to duplicate what other departments do. I think we're going to have a better office when everybody works together.
Okay. Jason Fairbarn.
In being a road deputy for 15 years and also working with the Sleepy Eye Police Department, and I worked in the Springfield Police Department part-time. There's things we can't duplicate. We're not going to be able to duplicate an SRO program like New Ulm does for, I think Brady Murphy is now the New Ulm Resource Officer, SRO. Same with Sleepy Eye, same with Springfield. But we would definitely be over there to assist if there's any kind of training that needed to be done, or even if there was a critical incident. I have personally seen our investigator, Eric Schwartzrock, just work recently with the Sleepy Eye Police Department on an investigation of a child death. I watched the guys just the other day in that sad situation that happened in Comfrey. These agencies that we work with, when I work the road, they've got very good people working for them. They do need some help. I've gone to Jeff and Chris myself and asked for some help and stuff. But they don't need their hand held. They're very capable of doing the job that we can do as well. And insisting them, yes, we're there to do that. But they're very capable officers. But I would like that to let them know it's an open door. We're all in this to do the same thing, and that's to make these communities safe and to make this a better county for our children and future residents.
Okay. Next question is regarding special diversion courts. Is either drug court or veterans court a priority for you? Why or why not? Matt Iverson.
I do believe drug court and veterans court is a good program. You know, for men and women that serve in the Army and, you know, suffering with some post-traumatic stress issues. Can they go to veterans court and get the help that they need, so it's not a repeat thing? Yes, I think that's a good outcome because they have the services and the ability to help them. I've never gone in front of veterans court at all. I've had a case that went to it, and I was fine with that because, like I said, they can help them with their issues, where if we put them in normal court, we might not be able to help them with, you know, their mental illness or whatnot. I feel drug court's a good program. You know, sometimes people make poor decisions in life, and why not give them an opportunity to complete it and try to be successful, which we've had cases where people have been successful, but you also have cases where the people came back in. But I guess I'm always for giving a person the benefit of the doubt and let them try to help themselves and fix their problems. And if they can't, you know, that's the road that they choose to go down. Thank you.
Okay. Jason Fairbairn.
Could you repeat that real quick?
Sure can. This is a special diversion courts question. Is either drug court or veterans court a priority for you? Why or why not?
It is. Early on in my career, I'll be honest, I was skeptical. I really was. But looking at it from one of my statements is mental illness. And that way, if these people are in drug court, instead of sitting in a jail cell, they're going to get the needs that they'll get through drug courts. They'll be recognized. They'll be able to take evaluations when they go in there. There's a entrance, I think, like questionnaire or something. They get all their information. There'll be a pre-sentence investigation on that as well. In Veterans Court, I feel the same thing. PTSD is a very serious thing. When I was out on the campaign trail, I happened to talk to a counselor, and he said that his son passed away in Iraq, or Afghanistan. My apologies to that individual. And he's been helping out soldiers in PTSD. And reading up on PTSD, some people do some very erratic things. It is a true mental illness. And once again, it all goes back to that with the county, what I said in my opening statement. And how do people combat that if they're afraid to ask for help through drugs and alcohol? Well, if they get caught, I don't think throwing them in a jail cell and ignoring them, it's going to be a repeat offense. Try to get them some help.
Okay. Jason Seidel.
Yeah, I think it's a really good thing. I kind of look at it, liken it to like when I was a coach. I've like coached for 24 years. And when you coach, you get to see those kids every day. Same thing with the people who are in the treatment. You get to see them every day versus seeing somebody maybe once every couple of months or a month like that for just follow-up visit for a probation officer. So when these people are in drug court, they're going to meet every week with the drug court whole team, and you're going to get a little bit more time one-on-one with the people, and you're going to see progress. It might be a little slow progress, but you're going to see progress every time you see them week to week. So, and then also you're going to kind of guide them a little bit more towards what happened that week and what you can do a little bit better as far as the services. You might be able to put them into some kind of a treatment plan, or you'll be able to fine-tune their treatment. So it's not just the jail, because ultimately they're going to try to come back into society. A lot of times in drug court, it's a lot harder to be in drug court. A lot of times people just want to execute their time and then just be done with it. So taking drug court is actually a harder route for a lot of these people, but it's also, they're going to get better services out of it, and hopefully they're going to make themselves a lot better. So it's, like I said, it kind of go back to like when I was a coach. You get to see them all the way through. You get to see them week for week. And it's not just like you see them once at the beginning of the sentence and once at the end of the sentence, maybe a couple times in between. But you see them every week and get to see the progress there.
Jeff Hohensee.
Well, actually, I was on the initial drug court team when drug court was brought up in Brown County. I went to Duluth and with the judges, the prosecutor, the defense attorneys, and the mental health facilitators. We all went to Duluth and we trained together. I sat on that court for 7 years, so I know a lot about drug court. I know that through the 18 to 24 month program that the people stay sober because they're being checked 6 times a day or 6 times a week on average. The problem that I have with drug court, and I do support it, is that when they walk out the door, they go to traditional DOC probation. So they go from 18 to 24 months of being checked 5 to 6 times a week to being checked 6 times a year. I've spoken with Judge Crable about this issue, and I've told her that for the drug court to have my support, we need to sit down and we need to talk about that issue and correct that mistake. As far as the Veterans Court goes, what I like about the Veterans Court is that a veteran who is need of services goes in and is assigned another mentor. And it's not just a mentor off the street, that mentor is a veteran. And that veteran goes through and completes the program with him. He is the mentor that helps him through the chemical illnesses, who helps him through the mental illness problems, any addiction problems, financial problems. He's actually a mentor, not just of one thing, but a combination of all. And the statistics show that that's more successful than having just a standard person. I've verified this with Greg Peterson's office through Veterans Affairs. I spoke with them about this topic, and it does have my support, both programs. Thank you.
All right. We have several questions regarding welfare fraud. What changes, if any, would you make to the investigation and enforcement process? Jason Fairbairn, I'm sorry.
That's all right. The changes I would make is, first of all, I'd like to speak, if I was elected, I would speak with Tom Henderson in Preston County and sit down with them and see where they're having their issues. On the campaign trail, I've heard of people that have two addresses, one in New Ulm and one in Hennepin County. A friend of mine used to have a tow truck service over in Sleepy Eye, and he had an individual that would come in for tires, and 2 weeks later come in for tires again, and having a check to pay for these from Brown County Family Services. It was later found out that this individual had a car dealership down in Texas and was driving them back and forth. I think that stuff like that should be followed up on. Some of the guys, this was years ago, but once again, if it's happening years ago, I'm guessing we're happening now, because some of the guys that this was happening to are no longer in business as well. I think that, and I've been in talks with some of Family Services agents who are personal friends of mine, and they'll tell me this. They'll tell me stuff that they're questioning, and they'll tell me stuff that they're seeing. And if the workload is too much at Brown County Family Services, then we have an investigator. We have an investigator that can go and help and assist when needed. If it's still too much, then we could look at the state level, or else possibly looking at getting another investigator to focus on that.
Matthew Iberson.
Can you repeat that question one more
Sure.
time, just so I get it right?
We have several questions regarding welfare fraud. What changes, if any, would you make to the investigation and enforcement process?
I would increase the investigations on welfare fraud. We've all seen it's been an issue within the state. Our surrounding counties went to law enforcement officers doing the fraud investigation, such as Blue Earth County, Nicollet County, Watonwan County. Sibley County just recently switched over. There's grants out there for it. We do have a great person down at Family Services investigating it, but my issues are with that is, so if he finds a big case, now if we have to write a search warrant, we have to go pull an officer out or an investigator out to investigate the case, write a search warrant, or get a complaint. Is there anybody holding people accountable down there? Because you can charge them out, or you can do a civil action towards them by decreasing their benefits or cutting their benefits off. An outside agency that I talked to, they put a threshold at $1,000. If they wrongfully obtained assistance over $1,000, they were going to charge them out. It doesn't take more than a couple months of fraud to accrue up over $1,000. So I think that part's important, because when you're out on the street, you hear a lot about, the fraud that's going on, the people that are getting the assistance that shouldn't be getting the assistance. And if I was elected sheriff, I would want to dig into that more, just because I believe it's a strong issue. And also, if not, it would be a deterrent from a person thinking about trying to scam the system. Thank you.
Jeff Hohensee.
Well, I met Preston Cowling in 2009, and the reason that I met Preston is because I was working for the Drug Task Force. There's a lot of different people that we were arresting that had a bag of dope in one pocket, that had a wad of cash in another pocket, and an EBT in the third pocket. I called up Preston. I explained to him the problems that we were seeing. Preston came down to our Drug Task Force office. He gave a presentation to the officers, and that's what started our working relationship. From that time, I have been doing all of the search warrants that Preston has over the years. If Preston calls me with a case and says, Jeff, I think this case has the probable cause, these are the elements A, B, and C. I'll review them, I'll work the case with Preston, I'll write the search warrant, and then I'll assist him. So that's been going on for a long time. What I will tell you is that Preston has trained Jay Link from the Nicollet County Sheriff's Department. He's trained Ginger Peterson from the Blue Earth County Sheriff's Department. He's trained Mark Slater from the Watonwan County Sheriff's Department. And these are all welfare fraud investigators for the other departments. Matt's correct that those other departments have gone to that and that there is funding out there. Currently, 30% of Preston's wage is being covered from federal grants. So Tom Henderson gets that money back for Preston's. I don't know what the best scenario is as far as grant money. Is it, you know, that we meet with Tom Henderson and sit down? That's something that has to be discussed if I am elected sheriff. What I'm telling you is that I think that Preston does a fabulous job, and I think that him going out and training these other officers and these other agents has established that. Thank you.
Jason Seidel.
Yeah, once again, I'm just going to reiterate that Preston does a really great job. We have a really good investigator down in Human Services. There's a lot of people that use him for investigations and continuing to do that. There's a lot of resources, not only like when the officers find something on the road, or if they find something that's not quite right, they let Preston know about it. Also, our jail staff does that quite often. They might come in the jail and then they notice that these people have these EBT cards. So they also have a resource there to help aid the investigation. So we do that currently right now. And talking to Preston, he also does contact these other agencies, the other counties. He also works up in Sibley. And then also he helps out with the other agencies in the county as far as the police department. So Preston's a great resource, and he assists with all of them. So it's a lot of it's just maybe a little bit more communication, but Preston is a very good resource. So instead of duplicating services, once again, Preston would be the one that we keep on doing it, just a little bit more communication.
Okay. Jason Seidel, we'll start with you this time for the next question. What is your position on enforcement of ICE laws and policy here for Brown County?
So what we have for, currently right now, what we have for ICE is that we do not, we will notify ICE if there is somebody that is a possible illegal alien. They will contact them on the phone, they'll make the proper arrangements. As far as they'll determine if they need to, if they're gonna be looking at extraditing them. And then what happens is, once we are aware of when they're going to be released, whether it be after court or when their jail time is up, we'll notify ICE and we'll have them come and get them. We will not hold on an ICE warrant because there is no judge's signature on that. There is no judge's signature on that at all, so they do not have that at all. So that is our position with the Brown County Sheriff's Office. So, like I said, there is no judge's signature on an ICE warrant or a detainer. It's just something that immigration wants to have.
Okay. Jeff Hohensee.
Well, I'll tell you that my experience with ICE is that it's very inconsistent. If they find one time, they'll call up and they will do an interview over the phone, and they'll tell you, well, you know what, we don't want this guy. The next scenario, 2 weeks later, they'll do another phone interview, and they'll say, yes, we're going to take this. So what I'd like to do is develop a policy and procedure, sit down with the supervisor, the local supervisor from the state that has ICE, and get this ironed out. I'll be very honest with you, I don't work with it near as often now that I'm doing general investigations. I think that the Drug Task Force was the one, when I was in that capacity, it was much more frequent, but to be, like I said, very transparent, I don't deal with ICE a lot now, but my experience with ICE is that they're very inconsistent. So again, I'd just like to get that ironed out. Thank you.
Okay. Jason Fairbairn.
In my 18 years of work, and I would have to agree with both Jason and Jeff on that, is that they are very inconsistent. And with Jason is that there's not a whole lot we can do if they don't come down to pick them up after we've put them into jail. I've had jailers tell me that as well, you know, and they've called and requested that. But I agree. I think we need to try to find a common theme here. I have heard of if they have bigger numbers in other counties, they may go and get them, and if we have one or two here, they might not. But it's weighing on our wages around here. If we have illegal immigrants working off paper, it hurts. It hurts. And when they're committing crimes as well. So if someone was in a DWI, let's say a vehicular operation crash, and they get out of jail from spending hours, they can go back down and they're gone. What repercussions does a family have if someone was hurt in that? So it is something that I think we need to really focus on, and like Jeff and Jason both said, it is inconsistencies, but is there going to be an answer? But that would be something that I would definitely try to get, and I would definitely try to sit down and discuss this with them and say, how about the families of these people that are getting injured from the crimes that are being committed? And that's selling drugs, whatever. I think that we need answers in that. And if ICE is going to ignore us on that and not transport these people, then I think we have an issue, and that would be something that communication should solve.
Matthew?
Can I get that one more time?
Sure. What is your position on enforcement of ICE laws and policy here for Brown County?
I think everybody sort of grasped at it and got her well. To me, the ICE laws would be, you know, like I said, you bring somebody into jail. I mean, we did our part to call ICE, and, you know, it's their job to either, one, come and get them, or two, they don't want to. That's totally up to them. But, you know, I would not hold them if they asked me to. They can come down and get them. They got a lot of people. I feel that if they're in our jail, hopefully we can keep them in there a little longer and, you know, get their time served on what they need. But for our policies, like I said, we're gonna have to sit down with them and try to figure it out. If they're not interested, well, that's the federal government, and we won't have much control over that. And if they are, we'll work with them. Thank you.
Next question. Do you have experience in budgeting, county budgets, or other budgets? Jeff Hohensee.
Sure. When I ran our drug task force budget was $530,000. That zeroed out every year. We started over. We never went over. We were able to zero that out. X amount of money was allocated for buy funds. They weren't gone over. X amount of money was wages. X amount of money was for expenses. There were strict vehicles on there. Absolutely. So for the drug task force, yes, the $275,000 grant that I received for the 3 years was a successful grant. As far as the other grants that I've written, and that goes back to the sex trafficking. Our sex trafficking group has 111 arrests in 3 counties over the last 3 years. That has all been self-funded, all right? That is at no additional cost to the Brown County taxpayer. We have received The first grant was for $40,000 from the Minnesota Women's Foundation. The second one was for $50,000 from the Minnesota Women's Foundation. And the third grant I wrote for the Department of was OJP, Office of Justice, and that was for $44,000. Those grants are very strictly monitored, especially the Department of Justice grants, which was both the sex trafficking grant and also the Drug Task Force grant. You have quarterly reports that have to be filled out. You have year-end reports, and they all have to balance out. When I was the commander of the Drug Task Force, they did that. When I was the sex trafficking, as we are now, again, those we're within our budget on those also. Thank you.
Okay. Jason Seidel.
Could you repeat the question?
Sure can. Do you have experience in budgeting county budgets or other budgets?
Yes, I do. That's what I do. That's my main job. Right now, we have a $3.9 million budget for the sheriff's office that encompasses everything. So everything from personnel, overtime, future needs. Some of the things, it's not just planning for just that year, it's also planning for the next year, the next couple of years. Some things that we do have would be that we're planning for down the road. We're looking at replacing dispatch consoles. We're looking at enhanced 911. That's down the road. Also for future, that would be taking text to 911, also video to 911. And then you also have the FirstNet program, which is the state of Minnesota, their communication system. They want to have it where there's a government, like a cellular telephone service, so they want to be able to use that also. We're also looking at courthouse security upgrades. We have to budget that not only for this year and next year, but we have like a 3-year process in that. We applied for the grant also on that, replacing the dispatch consoles. So that's what I do with the, that is my job. So for the last 12 years, managing the budget, and just going to go off of that. Those numbers I got previously for that were provided by the Drug Task Force with the amounts for the Drug Task Force as far as overexpenditure.
Okay. Matt Aberson.
Well, I do have experience in budgets. I do farm, so I have to have a budget on what we can allow for spending and chemicals and repairs, and what I can do myself instead of have somebody else fix. You know, we have to budget out on our expansion program with our farm on what we can afford or rent, you know, with the current prices and everything like that. I also have budgets with my other lawn mowing job that I have. You gotta budget out the equipment use and what you're gonna need, and you know how long you can keep it, maintain it, and you know set the amount rate so you can get new stuff. So I do have experience in budgets for my last 5 years of farming and with my other business. Thank you.
Okay. Jason Fairbairn.
Well, this would be probably one of my weaknesses. I haven't had a whole lot of experience in budgeting. But when I did, I ran Bavarian Blast Security for 10 years, and I was always right on the mark with what they budgeted. This reminds me of when Sheriff Huffman ran 12 years ago, and the big question was, what was his experience in the budget? What he did is he put the right people in the right situations. And that's what I plan on doing. I'm going to put the right people in the right situations to manage the budget, and I'm going to learn it. Of that $3.9 million budget, a majority of that is contractual salary that I can't really do a whole lot about. But what I can do is I can request board action to get certain items that we need, such as drones or a TrueNarc analyzer through grant or through the board. So I'd be conscious of the budget, but I would also need, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm going to need help with it. And I plan on putting a person in there that knows what he's doing.
Okay. Jason Fairbairn, we're going to start with you for the next question.
Okay.
So keep your ears open.
Yep, I got him.
How will you show leadership, build morale, and trust with those who will become your subordinates if you are elected sheriff?
I feel I have that now. I see the younger deputies, and even some of the guys that I've come up with will ask for my opinion, but I'm also going to ask for theirs. Regardless if I'm in a position of leadership, I'm still going to ask them, what do you guys think of this? I just did it the other night with a new Springfield officer. We were on a stop, and we collaborated. I feel it's great to communicate, and that's where I feel as a leader is you really need to base yourself on that as communication, keeping those communication avenues open. I do feel that most of the deputies up there, I think they're comfortable with the leadership now. I do feel that they would adjust to change. I don't fear that. Same with the dispatchers and correctional agents. I feel that I would probably be, unless they're telling me otherwise, but I feel I'd probably be welcomed. My leadership would be welcome, and I would treat them just as I would want to be treated in that position.
Okay, Matt Iverson.
Can you get that one more
Sure.
time for me?
How will you show leadership, build morale, and trust with those who will become your subordinates if elected sheriff?
I'd build leadership by, you gotta give trust, earn trust. Like Jason Fairburn said, just because you're in charge doesn't mean, you're always right. One of my big lines is, if I'm at a call, I'll say, this is what I think I'm going to do, but what do you think? Just to keep that open-ended to see if there's a better outcome. Trust, I had trust in all my deputies, and I think they would know no matter what. If it wasn't going good, I'd be there right behind them. I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. Definitely wouldn't be afraid to also, sometimes stuff comes up for other people and need time off, where if we can't find anybody to fill the shift, would I fill a shift for them? Yes. I had a boss like that in the Sleepy Eye. If we needed something off, he would come in and fill it and not hesitate about that. And I think that will also build leadership. I think with the morale, I would look at imposing a different schedule up there, so we get a little more weekends off, just to feel that normalcy of not always being on rotating shifts and have lack of weekends for our family or friends, because you need to step back from it a little bit and get out and be yourself and not have your uniform on all the time. Thank you.
Jeff Hohensee.
I'm going to talk about the 14 years that I spent with the Brown Lion Redwood ERU SWAT team. For 14 years, I was on that team, and for the first 7, I was a team member. I ended up being a team leader, and for 7 years was a senior team leader. During that time, it was my job to plan all of the trainings that we had. So every week, once a month, we would come together, and I'd have that training scheduled out. The commander and I would talk about it. What are the needs of the team today, A, B, C, or D? When we would have a call out, I would be the one who would take that information that night and devise a plan with it. And I would pick the team members that I would take. What I can tell you about is that I used our full team to its best ability. I took the people who were strong with the rifles, put them on the perimeter. I took the guys who were strong physically, put them on the bunker. We trained with that, and we trained with a group of people. And we also cross-trained, so if one wasn't in that night, the other one could be. So those are the things that, to be honest with you, when you are in that position and you coach these people and you teach them and you train them, actually the trust and the morale, they come in right behind that, all right? Because if that team trusts you and those people that you're with, you trust them with your life. And I, honest to God, trusted every person on that team, and they trusted me. As far as morale, one of the things that I'd really like to do is allow the officers, the deputies of the Brown County Sheriff's Department to attend church or attend a sporting or a play, whatever it is that they choose to, that their children are in. And what we'll do with that is allow them to go to that as long as they respond to calls. Thank you.
Okay. Jason Seidel.
Could you repeat the question one more
Sure.
time?
How will you show leadership, build morale, and trust with those who will be your subordinates?
So, a lot of times, like right now, I'm a supervisor, second in command, underneath the sheriff. So, right now, sometimes I'm the buffer between myself and the sheriff. So, it's to be a lot of the same old, same old. It would just be moving one door down. I'm the same calm person. I listen to anybody. Doors always open. Doors always open. So, I work with everybody. Doesn't matter if it's the maintenance person or if it's the head dispatcher, or person in charge of the jail. I'll listen to everybody. So I treat them all the same. We're professional. I'll get in there also and do the stuff also. We were at a scene the other day. I was down there doing the grunt work, doing the digging. So for that, I'm going to be the same person I've always been. Always open for comments, same level-headed person. So that is it.
Okay. Next round of questions is we will start with Matt Iverson. We've had several questions about issues regarding senior citizens. Explain your understanding of Triad and its value.
I think Triad's a very important thing that we're no longer in. I feel to help our seniors and inform them on, scams that are out there, questions that they have, how we can work together on that and inform the seniors. Have an open line of communication where if they have a question about something, a scam, something they received in the mail, or just any old question, that we're there for them. That we're always going to be there and not, just back away from this Triad because we wanted to. It's very important. It comes out with community policing. I'm a strong believer in community policing. I've started Party in the Park and Sleepy Eye when I worked over there, and it's still going today. So that's where I feel I would be a good candidate with the Triad, because I think I'm a easy person to sit down with and have a conversation with and understand. And if I don't know the answer, I can at least go to somebody else and try to get the answer for them. Thank you.
Okay. Jason Fairbarn.
Hi. I remember the days when Triad was thriving. I remember when Tim Brennan was sheriff, and it was doing very good. We had a representative from each town. I even seen that Opal was in the audience tonight, and she was very active in Triad. But as talking to an individual in Sleepy Eye with the Sleepy Eye Police Department, Matt Schmidt, he says as the community grows, it's been kind of, I wouldn't say he said it's been hard to get members, it's been hard to organize stuff, and it would be nice to bring that back. I would like to see it in its heyday, when I really would. But if not, I've talked about organizing a task force, whether it be with the investigator or assigning a couple deputies, to go to these nursing homes, to go to assisted living places and inform them on what the crimes are. One of my initiatives is having a community meeting once a month, and I would be there. We'd have it in the evening, and I would present crimes that are out there, the new changes in the state statutes and laws, because we just had a bunch change yesterday on August 1st. But I would also focus on the seniors and the vulnerable adult issue on that, where they are being scammed. And people, what's sad about it is somebody could make 100 attempts on a phone line, and we all heard that, Grandma, I'm in jail, I need money. But if they just get 10 people, that's a pretty good day for them. And that's something that we need to combat and then educate our seniors, but even educate regular people as well. But that would be one of my initiatives, is to have a community meeting. And I would head that meeting, and I would get my input from the deputies and explain what statutes are changing, what laws are changing, and what's out there that these people are taking advantage of senior citizens and vulnerable adults.
Okay. Jason Seidel.
Okay, so that's actually one of my initiatives, not only just having Triad. I see Opal here, I see Julie Deering here. I was also on Triad also. So what happened with Triad is ultimately what happened is it just got to be, as Fairburn said, myself, Matt Schmidt, and also John Nicholson from over in Springfield. It'd be us and a couple senior citizens, and Matt would even bring in guest speakers, and all of a sudden it wasn't beneficial just to have like for 3 officers for 2 people. So what I would actually like to do is, it's in my initiatives, is have meetings every other month, not only for senior citizens but also the community members, so you can go over all this stuff. Once again, the scams, because you can also talk with people who would be the grandparents or senior citizens, but also the citizens as a whole, because maybe their parents, they don't want to have them fall victim to that. It could be anything and everything. It could be other scams that might come up, other law enforcement tendencies. Also maybe kind of show some of the stuff that we have for law enforcement, whether it be like our K9 unit, if we get that, if we get drones, other little things that happen. People can ask the questions, kind of like our Citizens Academy. Instead of having just the Citizens Academy, we can have these meetings rotate around the county every other month, and invite the public there. So it's not just the senior citizens, but it's everybody in the community. So that would be my initiative with that right there. So, and it's on my initiative.
Jeff Hohensee.
When it comes to Triad, I want everybody to understand that Triad, the 3 triangles of Triad are the community groups, the senior community, and law enforcement. And they all need to work together. Before I decided to run for Brown County Sheriff, I contacted Julie Deering. Julie was a officer for our police department who was retired. I said, Julie, what was the downfall of Triad? And she said, plain and simple, it did not have the support of the sheriff's department. And that's what we need to bring back, all right? We need to have the sheriff's department be a leader for this group. We need that to happen. John Nicholson currently the chief of Springfield, sits on the board for Triad. But we don't have an active Triad in Brown County. And we need to bring that back. And the reason that we need to bring that back is plain and simple, to protect seniors. We need to protect seniors. 2 weeks ago, through my office, there was a $175,000 scam that went out from one person. And she thought that she was buying stock in something. And you know what? That's a life savings. And these are the things that we need to be on the forefront of. And it's not only the scams, but it's also, the issues that come with driving and insurance, but have an open line of communication for everyone. And that's what Triad needs to be. I guess my question is what happened to Triad? We still didn't get an answer in the last 12 years of what happened to Triad. Thank you.
Yes, you have a rebuttal. That'd be 1 minute.
I do, and I agree with Jeff. We never really got an answer what happened at Triad, but I do want to emphasize that if they thought it was because it didn't have the sheriff's office support, I think that's a matter of opinion. Just like I got my, but Matt saying that not enough people were showing, I think that's a matter of opinion. Because I've seen that the sheriff's office, we still have stuff up at our office, and deputies have been out there. We've gone National Night Out, we've gone out to these places, so I don't know if it totally didn't have the sheriff's office opinion, but I'm just saying, or support, but I'm just saying, I think with my comment as well, I think it's a matter of opinion. We don't know why it failed.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is, the Sheriff's Department does not currently use social media. Is that something you would implement? Jason Seidel.
Yes, I would. Kind of getting involved with the campaign. It's something I did not have before. I did not have Facebook. So Yes, you can reach a lot of people real quick with that. It's something good, it's something bad, but yes, I would like to use social media, not only for the sheriff's office, but I've also discussed this with our county administrator and at a department head meeting. What I'd like to have it be is a county-wide social media, so it's not just the sheriff's office pumping out information. It could be anything from planning and zoning, saying that the landfill's closed today, public health saying that there's immunizations today, highway department saying that there's road closures today, so therefore you get more information out there, a little bit more here and there, and you get more people because the sheriff's office is the big draw for that. And then also you would get the other agencies within the county would get to use that also. So yes, I would definitely like to use social media more, and I would like to include everybody in Brown County. It could be everything from family services, veterans administration. So you read the articles that we have in the paper once a month. We rotate that through, so therefore it'd be the same thing. They could be able to put their stuff, or also something kind of comes up relevant. So yes, I would definitely use social media.
Jeff Hohensee.
Yes, so absolutely, social media. I talked with Eric Gromitz. Eric Gromitz and Sarah Schlingman are currently the two officers that are doing social media for the New Ulm Police Department. What I've used it for is a tool for me to solve crimes. I cannot believe the number of people that when we start putting photos and pictures out on there that respond to social media. From an investigative standpoint, it is amazing. I cannot tell you how many crimes we have solved from this. I look at it, and when it first came out, and I was skeptical like everyone else, but I can take a burglary suspect, put their picture on there, and have 30 calls, and 15 of them are going to be the same. We just had a case with this from Sibley County. It was a transient man who was traveling down Highway 15. I got called to a burglary in the city of New Ulm at a chiropractor's establishment. There was a second chiropractor burglary over the weekend, and what we learned is that there had been 3 in Nicollet County in Lafayette and 2 in Sibley County in the Winthrop area. Sibley County ended up with a photo. We took that photo, we put it on Facebook, and even though the man was a transient, we were able to identify him back to Princeton, Minnesota, and from where he had last stayed in a hotel, and he was just captured in Maine. And that's the power of social media. So I'm telling you that the police department was the initiative on social media, and it's definitely going to be part of my administration. Thank you.
Jason Fairbairn.
I'm kind of a social media buff myself. There's many forms of it. There's Twitter, there's Instagram, there's Snapchats, there's Facebook. For now, my kids tell me it's more of the older generation on Facebook. But it is. The power of social media is quite relevant. If anybody's been on social media lately, people share posts about the missing kids in Iowa, and they share it just to get it out there. Not only is it for crimes, but to update people on what's going on. I posted on my sheriff's site today just that we're going to be having this. You know, it's out there to get there, and it's very helpful. And as long as it's done tastefully, I think it does. It makes a law enforcement agency look very good. I really do. I've talked to Eric Gromitz about this as well when we've talked about that, and we discuss things, and sometimes you do need a little bit of humor on there sometimes, just to break up things that happen in the job, and let people know that, you know, we're real people here behind the badge and stuff, and it does. It's a good thing. I really do. I support it 100%.
Matt Everson.
I think social media is also a great thing. You can reach so many people so fast that it helps us out in investigations and with alerts on what's going on. I think you'd be fool not to use social media, but you got to have good taste behind it as well. It's not a rant and rave site for us, but it can also help educate the citizens of Brown County with even what's going on with scams for senior citizens, or telling people about road closures or floods, or that the 911 system's down. I mean, because a lot of people will look at their phones before they'll pick up a newspaper, and it's so instant and so fast, where it's a great tool for people. Thank you.
Well, gentlemen, that was your last question of the evening. The time has passed quickly. So the candidates will now have the opportunity to give a 1-minute closing statement. We will proceed in reverse order from the order of opening remarks. We will start with Jason Seidel.
Once again, just like to say thank you, everybody. I mean, for coming out. I mean, definitely a lot of people here, so show a lot of interest in this. I love it. So seeing the same thing when going door to door. Would just like to kind of recap everything as far as, born and raised in Brown County. I love it. I love it. I love it. Love the community service, loyalty to Brown County, everything about it. I've been here for 24 and a half years. Started out in dispatch, worked up in the jail, current chief deputy, and everything from, and that's the second in command, working everything from the budget, extraditions, transports, expungements, civil commits, the jail, court security, records management, civil process. Also have the FEMA background. So I like everything as a whole. I love the experience, and then also the not knowing what it is day to day. You're gonna come in one day, you might get a call about where you have some neighbors kind of disputing over a traffic stop, and then maybe next day maybe a cow in the yard or something like that, but or in the road. But I love the community.
Matt Eberson.
I'd just like to say thank you to everybody for coming out and partaking in this. We had some really good questions. Once again, I was born and raised here. I plan on raising my kids here and retiring in this community and county. It's a great area. I am a normal person just like anybody else. I wake up in the morning and put my socks on the same way. Just because, I had a badge or the authority to do something, that was my job. I like to treat people fair and honest, and I'm just a easy person to talk to. I'm not a politician. I am who I am, and what I say I'm going to do. Thank you.
Okay. Jeff Hohensee.
Thank you. As I look back in the past 27 years of law enforcement, I've seen several changes. I acknowledge that I've made mistakes along my journey, and I believe that I've learned from my mistakes, and it's made me truly a better leader. I take an ownership in the cases that I work, and I give a piece of myself to each case. I strive to represent the victims of the helpless. Over the career, I have investigated countless property crimes, but it's the violent crimes and the sexual assaults and the crimes against the children that you don't forget. I'm proud of the profession that I've chosen, but I need to thank my family. It's not always easy being a wife, the daughter, or the son of a police officer. There's always missed events and broken promises. The hardest part of this job is to not bring it home. I'd like to thank my wife, Mary, my daughters, Ellie, Rachel, and my son, Benjamin, for the support, not only in the sheriff's race, but throughout my career. Thank you.
Okay, and Jason Fairbairn.
I would like to thank the citizens of Brown County in welcoming me and giving me their time to introduce my initiatives. I would also like to thank the League of Women Voters again for hosting this event. I am extremely passionate about my initiatives, and I'm excited to implement them if elected. I feel I'm extremely qualified to be your next sheriff, as I have working knowledge of the sheriff's office, along with 18 years of law enforcement experience. In those 18 years, I've worked on all entities in public safety, and I feel my integrity, character, communication skills, and transparency has been proven throughout my years as a law enforcement officer. And I would like to thank my wife for all of her support. It's been really good. And I ask for your vote on August 14th. Sorry to get choked up, but she's been great this whole time. I'm an emotional guy. Thank you.
Thank you. The League would like to thank the candidates who participated in tonight's meeting. Special thanks to NewCat KNUJ 107.3 for their presentation. Also, the New Ulm Journal for their coverage. I'd also like to thank the audience, both on the television, the call-in people, and the live audience, for all the questions that were received. There was a lot of participation, and that is absolutely great that there was this much interest in this particular race. I also would like to thank my fellow league members, particularly the timekeepers, the screeners, and voter service chair, Linda Heine, for a job well done. The League of Women Voters is interested in the promotion of public education to facilitate informed voting. We do this through forums like this one, as well as educational events for members and the community at large. If interested in becoming a part of this nonpartisan organization, please speak to one of our members after the meeting tonight. I also would please like to remind you to vote in the primary election on Tuesday, August 14th. It's coming right up. Polls are open from 7 o'clock in the morning until 8 p.m. in the evening. Good evening.